to Tiny Conversations, and we are back with episode 2. We have a new member on our guest list today, and we're going to be continuing our conversation on what that tiny living environment would be about, and what it would take for us to live that type of a life. And if you've been imagining a new type of a life as opposed to what we've all experienced in past years, this is the place to be, because we're going to have open conversations about this. And in the meantime, like, share, subscribe, get this around, because we want to be able to touch many people and get the conversation started. So who would like to start, just to continue our discussion from the last time?
All right. So my name is John.t.griffith, and I experienced a major transition, not even by choice to miniaturize, but the process of going through a divorce, selling a home, and having multiple properties, to living in a bedroom in a Buddhist temple. And the truth is that, when I moved out, I could have gone back to get my things, but I just left most of them, actually, and threw them away, because I noticed that the more things I threw away, the more spiritually free I felt, and the more, tidiness and openness I could have in my room. So then it sort of just became like a goal, like, how much can I miniaturize? And I'm still, even last week, going through like boxes of things from my childhood and seeing how much I can throw away, like how much I really need to store, and yeah, it's like I mentioned, I think as Americans, we're so programmed to think like more is better, and so programmed to be consumers and just to be buying things all the time, and another big influence for me was falling in love with a flight attendant who like lives all over and basically literally lives out of a suitcase, and that's it. And like a real minimalist, to the point where I told her I was a minimalist, when we first started dating, and she's like, "No, you're not. You're not at all." And she helped me throw away a lot of things, and I just kind of got into the practice. And like I said, the less I have, the more spiritually free I feel, the more I can relax in my environment. And now I'm living in a new communal living situation, and helping everybody throw away lots of things to clear up lots of space. And I'm excited about it. I've rented those mini houses for Airbnbs, and I love them. I love like having sort of minimal amounts of things, and it's a new way to live, but I think it's effective. And the last thing I'll share is, traveling around the world and living in villages with no electricity, nobody speaks English, and they just live in a hut with no walls, and they don't own anything but pots and pans. Like literally, that was it. They didn't have any other possessions, and they were like the most radiantly happy people I had ever met in my life. Like they were just alive. They were connected. Like I remember when I was leaving, this cute boy, he's probably like 8 or 10, like started screaming, and I was like, "What happened?" Like he broke his arm, but he was actually like feeling so many emotions about me leaving. Like he was wailing with like sadness and anguish after I lived there with them for a week. And it it majorly challenged my perspective of growing up in America, and this sort of lie that things make us happy, more makes us happy, or nicer things makes us happy. It doesn't. There may be a temporary pleasure or sensation, but it's very quickly gone, and then our brain is sort of on to the next thing that's going to make us happy. So I'm excited about this process. I'm excited to hear from everybody else about their experiences. Thank you, Miriam.
How does that work with kids, John? Are your kids minimalist?
That's a great
Are they
question.
minimalist at dad's house? Like, what does that look like?
So it does look like recycling their toys. So like getting rid of the ones they don't play with that much. Sometimes we even do it together and say, like, which of these do you want to donate? But also it's just containment. So like having them all contained in small boxes under the bed, and then pulling them out, to play, and then putting them right back. It's a big part of it, versus sort of leaving like the chaotic toy room. Yeah, thank you. It's a great question.
Yeah, my kids are the same way. Like the less they have to play with at a time, the more inventive and
Yep.
like creative they are with what they're doing. If it's just a big mess, it's just a big mess, So yeah, they're fairly adaptable to that. So my perspective on stuff has changed radically even in the last month. Here in Tampa Bay, Florida, we were just hit by two disastrous hurricanes 2 weeks in a row, and hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of families' stuff, all their stuff is piled outside their house or their apartment building right now in a moldy pile that goes up, 5, 10, 15, 20 feet in the air. We have mass wreckage everywhere. And so stuff, literally, I see the decay of it. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Am I back with you guys?
Yes.
Okay, it skipped on my side.
Yeah.
So we see the decay, we see the mass, just amount of stuff, and people having to buy new every single clothing piece and a towel and appliance. I mean, we're just really feeling the heaviness of stuff as a society here. People are donating to other people things they don't need. So that's been really cool, is to see that a lot of that stuff is getting replaced by donations from neighbors or people or stores in the community versus having to pay, full price in a store brand new. But for myself, after I lived in a condo for 7 years, I moved into an RV with my co-parent and my 5-month-old or 6-month-old baby. And then we lived in RVs and visiting family. And then I bought a tiny home on wheels. So we lived mobile for about a year, give or take. And then I bought a house that is 800 square feet with a 200 square foot ADU or accessory dwelling unit rental in the backyard. So now I live in a house that's about 1,100 square feet. So that's still very small, and I love it. And I would live in less space, frankly. I don't need the second bathroom. I just love the house and the yard. So my relationship, this is also a rental that I chose to get a furnished one. So I got rid of pretty much every piece of furniture and fixture that I didn't love. I didn't bother to bring with me. I donated it or sold it or gave it away to a friend. And I think a lot of people who grew up in the 90s, we perhaps were buried in our rooms under Furbies or Beanie Babies or Tamagotchis or just all the collectible shit of the 90s consumerist culture. And we're kind of over it. And then we also sort of have looming in our future. We have parents. Some of us have divorced parents, and then we have our partner's parents. So all these older people who have houses and decades and decades and decades of stuff that, if they haven't moved in particular, has just accumulated and not been, sorted through. So I helped clean up my grandmother's house when she passed away 11 years ago. And there was so much stuff, and I just feel imprinted by like what is important. Well, what's important to my kids is art. What's important to my kids is nature. What's important to me is reading. So I am pretty much continuously trying to purge some category, just because stuff accumulates. And like John said, you feel so much freer having less of it to keep tidy, keep track of. And then when you want to spend an indulgence on an investment or something like that, like I plan to buy an e-bike in the next month or two, which is a fairly expensive purchase. And I probably will buy it used, but I'll value it so much more because I don't spend, we don't have 3 crappy tricycles. Like we're going to have a bike that is safe and works for our whole family that we can all like use and enjoy, so we don't have plastic roller skates and pogo sticks and all the junk that you can have when you have kids. And I can't, Tyler can speak to this about what this looks like, because John and I are sharing fairly kid heavy, or at least I did, because as you can tell, I'm outnumbered in my house. So my kids have more stuff than I do. But, if we lived in a tinier house, we'd have less stuff. So that's an appeal when I think about it, going down even from 1,100 square feet. But we have an emotional relationship to our stuff. Whether we feel resourced or cool or taken care of, like we have an emotional attachment to the stuff that we live around, and even our car. So I've got friends that went car free recently intentionally, and they bike, walk, ask for rides, or take Ubers, and that's just their lifestyle now. And they feel free because they don't have a car cost between the payment and the insurance and the gas of over $1,000 a month. So it's really all about what your priorities are, and you can change one thing and not have to go totally possession free and live in a tree. So you really get to customize it for yourself before you even make a move to a tiny house. So think I'll go pass to Tyler now.
Hey guys. So I personally have lived in an RV for about 6 months. It probably wasn't the best experience because of the people I was with, but as far as living tiny, living in a small space, it's something that's never bothered me because I've never really cared about having things. I've always cared about just the people that I surround myself with. And I grew up with, a lot of money and a lot of things. And anytime a situation happened, it wasn't, talked about. It was here's a gift, here's something that I had to spend money on and get you. So I had to relearn that money is not everything and having things is not everything. So having a corporate job, just trying to make as much money as I could and not focus on my relationships. I didn't learn that until, 34 years of my life. So having a small space and not having anything means it has never meant anything to me since I was a little kid. I've always just wanted to be around people. And that's why I really am focused on building communities because we need people to help each other. We don't need things to help us.
I just wanted to point out something because this is something that I keep on finding on some of the YouTube videos on these tiny homes. They have so many ways of organizing and putting things out of sight so that it really brings that neatness back and it doesn't look like you're cluttered. So even if people might come with extra items, there's ways of perhaps incorporating it into the furniture or under steps. Like John was saying, he has containers for his child's toys. So there's so many different ways that you can organize a small space. So you don't have to just, think in terms of getting rid of everything, because there are certain things I'm taking with me. So let me just make my
That is very true. There are some people that are really good at designing small spaces.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's a lot of creative things that people are doing. They've got
Yes.
underbed shelving. They have things incorporated into the side of the steps as they go up to the loft.
Yep.
They have extra drawers in the kitchen and on the side as they're walking through the hall. So there's plenty of space that you can incorporate for storage. So that's always something to look to. Is Alexandra, are you there? Maybe she had to take a phone call. So, what I think, I've lived before I had this house that I'm living right now in Florida. I always lived in like smaller apartments. So I always feel like one of the last apartments I had was like 650 square feet. And in an apartment building, it felt small. But I'm noticing that the tiny homes that they have now, some of them are like maybe like 499 square feet. 650 in a tiny home would not be bad because you still got land around you. And I think that's what helps people to feel that they have more space. Because when you're in a building, you feel like you're just like part of on a shelf somewhere with many other people on their shelves, and you're stuck between walls. So I think there's many different ways that people can find a healthy space that helps them personally. Um, so I think Alexandra is
There she is.
okay. Do you want to say
I'm here. I'm just struggling with the layout.
okay. Don't worry
I'm
about
usually on my computer.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell people who you are and any experiences you've had or regarding tiny homes or.
Yeah. My name is Alexandra. I live in Tampa Bay as well. I do disaster relief currently. So I've been on a mental health team, crisis stabilization for the people that Lauren's talking about. And we are seeing piles. It's interesting to see, there's people writing on their couches with marker, like, don't take this, or, the insurance hasn't come yet. And then you have people like pillaging people's childhood things. And the first hurricane, over 200 people passing away. We were working with search and rescue and such. And just some of that was like, I don't want to leave my home. Like, I don't want to leave sometimes like my stuff. And like part of the crisis stabilization we do is a lot of people, like the people who are refusing to leave, and now there's mold growing, and that's why the state sent us in to do de-escalation. So yes, so definitely that's like current right now. Yeah, personally, it's a interesting space because I've lived in a lot of community living. I think I felt most free when I had, like, I was thinking back to childhood when I had like a brand new house, didn't have all the spaces filled. It was really satisfying. But then now I'm kind of expanding. I have my apartment and I'm moving in with my boyfriend. And so we're combining our things, but it does feel like a lot of things. So it's time for a cleanse. But I'm also getting a dog and he has a dog. And so definitely feel that like tension, but also an opportunity to still, even though the space is going to be bigger and the animals and people are going to be bigger, like how can you have that freedom? Like when we started this project, it was looking at like, oh, how could I move into a tiny home? So it's like definitely there's definitely a lot of things that you can do. Also, like you're saying, like putting everything away and not overextending yourself, and like what can you clear out all the time. So definitely really feeling the hurricane, and reinventing what does that look like. And then living in a tiny home community, like what does that look like, in times like hurricanes. But it's not going to be as painful and it's not going to be as attached. So.
Yep. Where do you live in the St. Pete area?
I live in North St. Pete.
Okay. Like Northeast hit by all the flooding the first time really bad, or north like Canals Park?
We were hit nearby. I was in an apartment on the second floor and didn't have much. So again, the pain wasn't very much, which enabled me to just go and take care of other people. So yeah, I saw a lot, but my area was just flooded, but I was on the second floor. So minimal damage personally.
Well, that brings up a good question. Like how good are these homes that they're making for tiny homes good or hurricane proof? That's a good question. I know some of them are tied down, for those type of situations. Tyler, do you have any information on that?
Yeah, if they're not on a foundation, then they have to be hurricane strapped down.
Yeah.
Like a shipping container would be on a concrete platform, hurricane strapped down at each corner.
And has there ever been a tiny home somewhere in Florida, for instance, that got wiped out? I mean, like a community that got wiped out from these storms? I mean,
Mobile home communities, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for them to lose their roofs because
Right.
structures, like about maybe 10 or so mobile homes in my mother-in-law's park got their roof peeled off during Milton with the wind. So the thing about living in those communities is you just know that you're going to leave if there's a hurricane.
Yeah.
You just know you're leaving. You're not riding out the storm there. So yeah, like speaking back to the attachment of your stuff, those people know they're taking with them what they definitely want to see again, because you could lose your roof or it could be fine. So mobile homes are, I think, kind of like Alexandra was saying, for people maybe that live in an apartment or just have less or whatever. If you have less at stake, then you're kind of more realistic about what the odds are. And the trade-off is that way lower cost of living, which for seniors or lower income or fixed income, or just people that don't want to work that much and want to live a lower budget life, what are the trade-offs if you have to evacuate once or twice a year in a storm, but your cost of living is a quarter what it was? Like maybe that's totally worth it to you. And a lot of people in this kind of environment where a lot of homes are going to have to go up for sale. A lot of them are going to have to get totaled and rebuilt 12 feet in the air. People are going to choose, there are still people who have not come back to their homes here and don't even know they're flooded and are going to come back to water damage and have 3 months of mold that's been growing behind a locked door when they come down here to these snowbirds that own property here. That's devastating. People in apartments, they are not going to expect that to have happened, or people in a neighborhood that never flooded before, but this time did. So we're going to see a huge transfer of real estate in this area in the next 6 to 12 months. So I'm super hopeful that we're going to be able to find a property in Pinellas County in this collection of cities that we can do something really creative, because housing is a huge issue. It was before these storms. It's worse now. And this isn't just locally in Florida. We know that the hurricanes did a lot of damage in other states, but states that don't receive hurricanes still have housing crises. And the earlier cities and states that spend money creatively and experiment and approve projects like this that are affordable and that are creative, they're going to be early adopters. And then in 3 to 5 years, every state's going to be on fire with this. So to me, that's why, even though I have a bunch of other things going on in my life, this is a priority right now, because we're right at the beginning of a huge explosion of it, I believe. And we want to help people right now who want this kind of housing, who are ready to move, ready to shake things up, ready to live affordably, ready to live in community. And we need to figure out and crack the code of how to do that and help people do it.
Mm.
Yeah, if you think about it, you see the homes that were built 100 years ago, you know how small they are?
Yeah.
I mean,
My 800-square-foot house is 100 years old. It's a great laid out 3-1.
it's
Up
all
north,
about,
that's like a shack.
yep. It's how it's built, and I think that's why I'm so adamant on the container homes here in Florida, is because of the durability of them. I mean, you can't beat that unless you're gonna go block. And if you go block, I mean, the cost is so much different than doing frame, wood frame. Doing wood frame, you are likely to get blown out during a hurricane.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And Lauren also made me think of all the people that I have seen, the people that did good, that did well, like no matter what their situation was their community around them. Like I walk into neighborhoods and they're all like working on each other's yards and houses, or like part
I
of
love
some
that.
kind of community, the Rotary Club. Yeah.
that's
So
definitely St. Pete for you.
yeah. Yeah. But the people, like I was working at the FEMA lines yesterday and watching people walk away without a place to go
Oh,
and not knowing if they're gonna be sleeping in their car or, but the difference was the community
we
around
need
them.
we need temporary small housing too for instances like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have a few more minutes to go, so if you each want to do like a little brief thing to wind up as we go around, and
Maybe a cute question would be, if we each won a custom built $100,000 toward about tiny home, what features would we have in it? Is that fun? Yes,
Thank
no.
yep.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go quickly.
You go quickly.
I like something that looks like a cottage. I love that look. And about 650 square feet, and you could still have what you need in it, wash and dryer and all that stuff. It's going to be an open plan, and an open plan indoors gives you that feeling of space, and I like that. That's my ideal.
And what's your view in your tiny home?
My view.
Yeah. What are you looking at out the window?
Oh.
Where is it?
Planting trees, nice little dirt roads, along the passageways, a little community areas, and get-togethers and places where we can teach, and yeah, I like that.
Love it.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so I like the Murphy bed. So you see that in a lot of New York City apartments too. The bed that just folds up into the wall really easily.
Like the
Because it frees
1930s.
up all of that space. And then I like those little sleeping lofts above, so you can actually sleep a decent amount of people in a very small space. And it's very practical, I think. And yeah, from my view, I'm surrounded by forests and with a view of the ocean. That's my favorite.
You're on prime real estate. My tiny house on wheels had 2 sleeping lofts. One fit a queen bed and had a lot of other space, and the other fit a twin pretty comfortably. So yeah, you can,
Wow.
that's just the lofts, and you can make them even bigger than that. That was like pretty small, even in the corners. I definitely have a mountain forest view. And Miriam was talking about her view, like, oh, the path to other people, and mine is like nowhere near any other people. I envision owning a tiny home that's in probably multiple that are in different cool communities, like a little neighborhood of them on a property that's like 5 or 10 acres. But I want a cabin that is just also totally secluded. I'll rent that out too when I'm not there. But yeah, definitely like a woodsy cabin with a mountain view. And I like the Murphy bed. I like that a lot. And a feature I would absolutely have is a comfy reading nook next to a big wall of windows.
Ooh, I love that.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler? Got a few
Yeah,
more?
my tiny home, I would definitely want like an outside space upstairs on top, like a little balcony.
That's nice. Yeah.
And then the inside, I would just want 2 lofts. I'm not really particular about the inside, just an open floor plan. And outside would be a community. I want to be around people. I don't want to be excluded away from people where I can't see. I want to be able to see my neighbor
Mhm.
in case we need anything. Just be like, hey, can I get an egg?
The old days when people
The old
came to
days.
somebody's house and can I get a cup of sugar?
Yeah, just watching kids play and
Mhm.
the older generation, teaching the younger kids stuff and the younger kids teaching the older generation. And I just like to see, all diversity in
Mhm.
all ages and coming together.
Alexandra?
Definitely ocean nearby. And yeah, I might have to have 2 then, because I like to snowboard. So maybe one is in the woods by a ski area. Both would have space for like sports equipment. In Florida would be like it could be an outdoor space for paddle boards. Probably somewhat covered just so it's not in direct sunlight, or at least like some way to protect it, but also like accessible to just grab it and go to the beach or the river or wherever. Maybe a spot for a jet ski. So yeah, it's about the outside too. And like a good like yoga stretch spot that could be, I probably have the space for it in the house. And then outside in like the front yard, like in the like outside. It could be like, I think, yeah, I'm with Tyler of having community all around.
Yeah.
With like a little like Zen space that would be like my little private nook. We
Yeah.
do like a little stretch yoga in the morning, get the sun.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Wow, our tiny living selves sound so relaxed, don't
I
they?
know.
Yes.
Please don't forget to like and share this episode of Tiny Conversations, and also subscribe to the channel for notifications of upcoming shows. And if you have any questions or suggestions on this topic and you want to get in touch with us, please feel free to drop them into the comment section below in the description box, and we can add these to ongoing discussions. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you real soon on Tiny Conversations.